Hey, welcome. In this mini lesson, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the distributive property. The long title for this property is the distributive property of multiplication and division over addition and subtraction, but we'll typically just call it the distributive property. We're going to look at a couple nuanced situations in this video. The first is distributing negatives, and the second is distributing division. So let's start with distributing negatives like this example. Notice we have two of those negative signs in there. The first one is really saying take the opposite. It's really an operation that we have in math. Take the opposite of something. Whereas this one just means good old subtraction. All right, we're going to look at two methods for dealing with this. The first one is really considering this negative as saying take the opposite. What are we going to take the opposite of? We're going to take the opposite of both of the terms that are inside the parentheses. So we can come down here. The opposite of 6x minus 4. It's the same as saying I want the opposite of 6x minus the opposite of 4. And then to further simplify that, we have double signs. So it's negative 6x plus 4. Another way you might hear somebody talking about this method is they might say distribute the negative. Distribute the negative. And that negative is just telling us take the opposite of each of those terms in there. All right, let's now look at method 2. Another way people think about this negative sign that you need to distribute is it's equivalent to multiplying by negative 1. So we can start with the opposite of 6x minus 4, and this is equivalent to saying negative 1 times 6x minus 4. This is sometimes more familiar for mathematicians because we can use the thinking about the distributive property of multiplication. It's the same as saying negative 1 times 6x minus negative 1 times 4. Notice I'm leaving that operation as is. If we do that multiplication, negative 6x minus negative 4, and again dealing with those double signs, plus 4. So really mathematician's choice. Typically a mathematician likes to think about it one way or the other. Let's talk a little bit more about distributing negatives. I have a little bit more complex example here where we're subtracting the distributive property. Now I want to show you again two different methods for simplifying this. I love whenever we have two methods because often one speaks more to mathematicians than the other. And secondly, it's always fun to compare and contrast two different ways of doing things. It actually gives you a deeper understanding of what's going on. So we're going to look at method 1. And for this method, we're going to consider that this means distribute negative 4 and then add the result. And the way to write that is saying, okay, let's start with 2x minus 4 times the quantity, negative 3x plus 6. I'm going to rewrite this and take my subtraction and turn it into addition of the opposite. So subtracting 4 times that quantity is the same as adding negative 4 times that quantity. Now we have the situation that we're really distributing the multiplication of negative 4 to both of our terms in the parentheses. So that's equal to 2x plus negative 4 times negative 3x plus negative 4 times 6. Notice again, this operation just comes down. Let's do our arithmetic. 2x plus negative 4 times negative 3x would be a positive 12x. Negative 4 times 6 is a negative 24. Last step, let's combine those like terms and also handle these double signs. So we have 14x minus 25 when we simplify this. So this method again, we rewrote subtraction as addition of the opposite, and then we're distributing the multiplication of that negative number to each of the terms. Another way to think about it is to say, well, no, actually, I'm distributing multiplication of positive 4, but I'm subtracting everything in my result. So let's look at what that would look like. Start with, again, 2x minus 4, positive 4 times the quantity, negative 3x plus 6. All right, I'm going to go ahead and distribute, but I'm going to subtract everything I get from distributing. So I'm adding that big grouping symbol there. I'm going to subtract 4 times negative 3x plus 4 times 6, which is the same as 2x. I'm going to subtract everything in the parentheses, which is negative 12x plus 24. Notice this just gives us the case of what we had before, that this subtracting, I'm going to be subtracting negative 2x, and I'm going to be subtracting positive 24. That's 2x subtracting negative 12x and subtracting positive 24. Handle those double signs and combine like terms. Where did I get this 24? We know that's a 2x. All right, so that's going to be 14x. I hope you caught my error there, minus 24. All right, two methods. Pick the one that makes the most sense to you, or you may have a slight variation on both of these. I'm curious, how many of you were screaming at your screen going, hey, what are you doing here? Did you notice my error? I think I said negative 4 times 6 was negative 24, but I wrote negative 25. So let's go back and just fix that error. All right, let's move on. Lastly, we're going to end with a little bit of distributing with division. We often are first introduced to the distributive property as being the distributing multiplication over addition and subtraction. But division is exactly the same thing. We're going to distribute our division over both terms that are being added together. With the fraction bar, don't forget they're hidden grouping symbols for the numerator and the denominator. So this is really saying if we're using the distributive property, we're going to distribute that division to both of the terms. 12x is being divided by 3 plus 15 is being divided by 3. Notice the connections to adding fractions. If I had two fractions that I was going to add with a common denominator, I would just be going this direction and combining or adding my numerators. We're just going the opposite way, the other way when we're distributing division. All right, and if we keep going, 12x divided by 3, 12 divided by 3 gives me the integer 4, plus 5 divided by 3 is 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5, and we're done. So everything you know about distributing multiplication over addition, subtraction absolutely works when you're distributing division. All right, I hope this mini lesson helped clear up some of the nuances of the distributive property, both with distributing and handling negatives or subtracting quantity you get after distributing, and also about distributing division. All right, have fun, mathematicians. See you next time.